Are you the employee that is always like ready to jump on the newest technology? Or are you the employee that is like, really? I logged in on Friday and the system worked this way, and today I had to learn a whole new system. Hi, I'm Barika from Simply Unique Coaching. I have been leading for over 15 years and I've led more than 18 teams. And I like to say I am the leader who learned in the trenches. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how flexible are you at work? Which one are you? I want to know. So first of all, let's talk about what flexibility is. Flexibility is the ability to change or to adapt to situations and circumstances. Now, we have to be honest, there has to be a certain level of stability. We can't have things all flipping and flopping every day. Like, that's not going to work for anybody. But what we can have is a little bit of an open mind, or maybe a lot of bit of an open mind when it comes to being flexible and being able to change. So are you resistant to change, or are you the person who is ready to adapt to change quickly and you like thrive in fast-paced environments that are constantly moving? Let me know. I'm curious. So now let's talk about the benefits to being flexible at work. So one of them is the opportunity for career advancement. I can tell you, with people who kind of get that tunnel vision where they can only see what's in front of them, sometimes they end up being left in those positions just because they're good at them and they're happy and they're like, ooh, just, I like the numbers. I like finding the penny in the spreadsheet. That makes me happy. I did not like accounting class, just so you know. But in that, I like looking at the spreadsheet and bouncing out the spreadsheet and just figuring out where these pennies and dollars go. And they like the routine. There is definitely a personality type that is built for that and wired for that, and we need them because they catch all the details, right? But then also when it comes to being able to move forward, sometimes, that can kind of limit you if you don't seem to be flexible. Like if they try to get you to learn a new system, if they try to get you to learn a new process and you're like, not so much. Sometimes the leaders can say, okay, well, this person is resistant to change. So, I'm not going to be able to promote them to a certain position because they're not going to want to move forward. And just know in life, everything is always moving forward, right? So again, we do have to have a certain level of stability, but then we also need to be seeing progress and making progress. Also, we have to be flexible when it comes to working with people because again, everyone's not the same. And so trying to make everyone fit into our mold or in the way that we are used to doing things is really not fair to other people because we wouldn't want to be in that situation. Just put yourself in the other person's shoes for a moment and just think about, okay, if I had to do everything they wanted me to do exactly the way they wanted me to do it all the time, at the time they wanted me to do it, how miserable would you be, right? We don't want to do that to anyone else. So we want to be flexible. That's going to help us to have the right kind of relationships. And when we understand that everyone is not the same, then it is going to help make everyone be in a better position, especially the more that we understand each other. That's a whole nother video for another time. I'll tag one here. So now let's talk about some of the common challenges when it comes to being flexible. So a lot of times some people can be resistant to change, and that's really going to be a mindset thing. We have to have an open mind. Now, again, there needs to be a certain level of stability, but also there needs to be enough flexibility for there to be growth. Like it can't be one or the other. It has to be both. And sometimes in life, I don't know why, but people think it has to be this or it has to be that. And actually, a lot of times it's this and that. So also what can cause people to not want to be flexible is the fear of the unknown. And that is actually one of the biggest fears that people can face at times is the fear of the unknown. So I don't want you to be afraid of the unknown, just maybe establish the worst case scenario in your head. And I think they said like 80-90% of the time what a person fears never happens. And then even if it does, the small percentage of the time that it does happen, it's not even as bad as they thought it was going to be, right? So there's nothing to be afraid of. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It may be uncomfortable, but you'll be fine. The other thing is having a fixed mindset, and this is where it can be a little bit dangerous. This is where you see companies that go out of business. This is where you see employees that get phased out because they have such a fixed mindset that they're not willing to change with the times and with the seasons. And I'm just going to be honest, technology is here that we all need to learn. I've received some feedback from someone I respected, and they mentioned some of the newer technology that needed to be adapted. And had they not mentioned that to me, I would have been like, not so much, but I am receptive to feedback and I respect the person. So I am glad I am an early adopter of this particular technology, or at least as early as when I found out about it. Apparently some people knew about it a couple years ago. But in any case, as soon as I found out about it and got that feedback, then I said, I need to learn how to make it work for me. And I am doing just that. And it's making my life so much simpler, and making my job so much easier. So now let's talk about some strategies to develop the flexibility that we want to have. We want to be open-minded. We want to make sure that we are not resistant to change, but that, sometimes it may take a little while for us to get on board. It shouldn't take too long, but maybe we just got to kind of get our mind into the place. Maybe we're like, okay, I'm going to learn how to do it, but just give me a weekend. Just give me a weekend so that I can figure out, let me just mourn the old system so that I can get on board with the new software system that they upgraded me to, right? Also, continuous learning. Having that learning mindset is going to be very beneficial, and it actually is going to help you stay on top of what is happening currently, and it will make you more flexible, and you'll be open and aware to the different technologies and techniques and things that are up and coming and things that make learning or your job more enjoyable and or make it easier, which who doesn't want to have that? Like, that is the thing that we want, right? We want to do our jobs in a way that is the least stressful. Also, having a positive attitude, that really, really makes a difference. I just made a video on having the proper perspective. I'll link that here. But just making sure that we have the right attitude and the proper perspective on things, that makes a big, big, big difference on how we can be flexible. Have you ever had that person that always had a smile on their face? And it's like, man, it's literally raining cats and dogs outside, and they may have been soaking wet. And they're like, and I'm like, you just made my day, I love those kind of people, and we just enjoy having them around. So let's try to put a smile on our face today and make sure that we are being flexible. And so let me tell you about one of the times that I'm the most tempted to be inflexible, even though I don't have a choice in this situation. But you ever have your phone and you are just doing something great on your phone, and then you get this, you are ready to open an app and it's like, update required, and you're like, update. And then everything's moved all around. So just me, if you work in technology, I'm just gonna put this out there, public service announcement. If you're working with technology, I don't mind you updating the technology. If the technology is basically the same, please don't move all the buttons all different places. That really is not an update for me. Let me know what you think. In that situation, we have to be flexible, right? And as we know, technology is just coming at us faster and at a rapid speed, and we can't stop it. So, make sure that you keep yourself sane. Don't let technology drive you crazy, because it is coming at a super fast rate, faster than when I was growing up. I was around when pagers were a thing, and it's one of those things where now it's like, shoot, you can be in another country working somewhere else and everything can keep rocking, right? So it's a big deal. Technology needs to be embraced. If you are actually ready to get out of your comfort zone, to step out of your comfort zone, I want you to watch this video next. With that being said, make it a great day.